The ground dropped sharply away, and his feet went out from under him, and he tumbled in a heap into the snow. Damn, he thought as he fought to regain his feet. This is not what I had in mind for Christmas Eve. He checked the rope when he was finally upright again, and was relieved to find that it had survived the fall, because when he looked along its length toward the truck, all that was visible was unending whiteness. If anything happened to the rope, he was in deep trouble. And if he was in deep trouble, so was the young lady he was trying to find. Finally, he had reached his limit to the left, and there was still no sign of the car. So he started to work his way in the opposite direction, retracing his steps for some time before he felt he was covering new ground. He was really hoping that the car would be there, because he was quickly running out of options. If only the storm would ease, he thought. He had gone about as far as he could when he hit the jackpot. He was again making his way down the ditch bank, this time on the other side of the road, when he brushed against something solid. It was the car, almost invisible, off the road and in the ditch. He made his way along it until he reached the door, then used his hands to scoop the snow away so he could try to get it open. When he did finally manage to pull it toward him and lean into the car, his heart sank. The other door was open and the car was empty. She must have thought her husband's rescue attempt had failed and tried to set out on her own. Jim sat heavily on the empty car seat. Now what, he wondered. He looked in the direction the young woman had apparently taken, away from the truck. She'd freeze, he thought. But I have no more rope, and if I go after her, I'll likely get lost and I'll likely freeze. It was a dilemma for sure. But he thought about it for only a moment. Then he reached to untie the rope. It really wasn't much of a decision. He'd do what he could. So he headed into the weather, following what remained of her path through the snow. He had no idea how far he should go or where after the first few steps when he lost her trail. He was totally on his own. He cupped his hands and yelled as loudly as he could into the wind, but nothing came back, so he started to move slowly forward. It was frustrating work because he had no idea which direction he was going in most of the time, or whether he was covering the same ground twice. Once, when the wind seemed to die down for a minute, he thought he could see the snowplow's bright light piercing through the snow, but when he looked again, all there was a wall of utter whiteness. He started moving again, each step requiring huge effort. He didn't think she could have made it very far. She had to be here someplace. He reached out around him into the storm. He called out again. Finally, after what seemed like a very long time, he collapsed to his knees and could almost feel tears coming. I can't find her, he said through clenched teeth. I can't find her. The words came again. Help me, he thought. Somebody help me. And just in that moment, when he knelt helplessly in the snow, seemingly beaten by the storm, he thought he felt someone take his hand. He gently pulled him back to his feet and seemed to guide him on. For the first time in many months, he felt total calm and peace as he walked. Even the effort of fighting the drift seemed to be momentarily gone. He almost felt as if he was floating through the falling snow. Then he saw her, the young woman's outline laying in the snow. He surged forward, brushed the snow off her, pulling her toward him. Hello, he hollered through the snow. He saw her eyelids flutter faintly, but her lips were blue, and there seemed to be very little life left in her. She was freezing to death. He pulled out his bottle and forced some of the liquid through her lips, not sure if it would do any good, but feeling it couldn't hurt. Then he returned the bottle to his parka. He gathered her up in his arms and stood uncertainly. The wind whipped and swirled around him in every direction. He had no idea which way to go to reach the truck. He had the girl, but now he was lost in the storm. Then just up ahead of him, he saw a very faint light, more like a glow. The snowplow's spotlight, he thought. Praise the Lord. He gradually started toward the light, fighting the snow, deliberately placing one foot firmly in front of the other. He had only gone a short distance when he bumped into something solid, the disabled car. But how, he wondered. He looked beyond the car to where he thought the light had been, but there was nothing but the whiteness. How, he wondered. But if he was back at the car, he was back to the rope. He was now confident of return to the truck and its relative warmth and safety. He laid the young woman on the car seat to get hold of the rope and to prepare for the return journey to the plow. He gathered her up and plunged off along the length of the rope. There was no sign of the truck's spotlight from where he was, and he wondered how he'd seen it from a further distance when he'd been lost in the storm. The girl was heavy, and the going was tough, but he gradually made it back. Finally, he leaned on the plow's blade to catch his breath. Just a few more steps. He couldn't believe he'd carried her this far. The young man had been peering through the storm to try to see what was happening, and he first caught sight of Jim carrying his wife when the pair came alongside the truck. He forced the truck's door open against the wind, then cleared away while Jim climbed up on the running board and gently laid the young woman across the seat. "My Lord, it's cold out there," Jim said, as he shook himself from head to toe to try to get his blood flowing again. "Here," he added, quickly turning his attention to the girl. "Let's get her wrapped up in this." He grabbed a wool blanket from behind the seat and helped the young man wrap her in it. "We've got to get her thawed out," he said. "I thought you were lost," the young man said as they attended to the woman. "I was until I saw the spotlight from the truck," Jim said. He glanced toward the dashboard. "You've turned it off," he said, noting that the light switch was indeed in the off position. "I never touched it," said the young man. "I wouldn't have known which switch to flip." Jim was puzzled but said nothing because there seemed to be more pressing concerns. He produced the bottle from his parka and gestured toward the girl. "Try to get a little of this into her," he told her husband. "Not too much, but it'll help to warm her." Just at that moment, the radio crackled to life. "Jim," called Ernie's voice. "Are you there, old buddy?" Jim picked up the radio. "I'm here," he answered. "I've got the girl and we're back in the truck. Any word on a rescue? The girl's in pretty bad shape and we're not sure at all about the baby." "Soon as I reported the pregnant woman, you guys went to the top of the police rescue list," the radio dispatcher answered. "The weather service said we might get a break in about an hour, around midnight, just in time for Christmas." "Well, that would be good," Jim said. "We'll try to keep the girl warm and hope Mother Nature cooperates and baby can wait." "Sit tight, Jimbo," Ernie answered. "Okay, man," Jim answered. "Stay in touch. Over and out." Jim offered the young man a drink, which he accepted. "Merry Christmas," he said to his companion. "Merry Christmas," answered the young man. "You think she'll be okay?" he asked, looking toward his wife, now sleeping peacefully under the blanket, her normal color seeming to be returning. "Oh, I think we got her in time," Jim answered, taking a long drink himself. "Help will be here soon. As long as we don't have to deliver a baby in the meantime, I think we'll be fine." "Thanks for going out there," the young man said. "She would have died." "I did what anybody would have done," Jim said. "It wasn't that bad, really." There was a silence as they both took another drink from the almost empty bottle. "You know, it's really weird," the young man said after a few moments of quiet in the truck. "What's that?" Jim asked, looking out into the storm. "When you were out there, and I thought you were lost, I prayed for you," said the young man. "And after I said my prayer, I looked out and I thought there was a young girl standing out beside the truck. I thought she looked up at me and smiled. It was the strangest thing. I knew she couldn't be there, and when I looked again, she wasn't.